Hi guys. It is currently 10:15 at night. It is the 31st of December, and by the time this goes up, it will be the 1st of January. So Happy New Year. Yep, Happy New Year. So I'm gonna be telling you guys about how I stabbed a nurse. Yep, I stabbed a nurse. Okay, so this is when I think I was 5 or 6 years old. I can't really remember, but I was in the hospital at the time. I was admitted, and I had blood tests earlier on that day to make sure that everything in my body was perfectly fine so I could go home within the next couple of days. And it didn't happen. Really didn't happen. So basically the doctors had requested a blood test for earlier on that day just to make sure that everything was going good with a couple of my new medications. And so one of my levels was out of whack, and the doctors had called the ward that I was staying on, and my nurse came into my room about 5 minutes after the call, and she said, your doctor's just called and they want me to do this needle just to make sure that one of your levels is fine and it's not like something else that's brewing inside of you. And I was like, yep, that's scary as shit. And then I just started crying, and she's explaining it to me and I'm answering her, but she asked me if I wanted to wait for my mum to get back in my room, because my mum wasn't in the room at the time. She was on the ward kitchen area or something like that. I can't really remember, but I know she was somewhere else on the ward. And so my nurse left my room, closed the curtain, and she waited like in the doorway, because there's like 4 beds to a bay, and then there's like a curtain for each bed, and so she's waiting in like the doorway kind of thing. And my mum come back and she's seen the nurse, and my nurse explained to her that the doctor's just called and they need to do a shot or something like that. And my mum was like, yeah, that's fine, I'll wait with Mandy till you're ready to inject her. And she's like, oh, I'm ready now, you can just go wait and I'll just go prep the needle. And she's like, all right, that's fine. Mum walks in, and then she sat down next to me, and then she just said that this is what the needle was for. I can't remember now, but I don't know, it was something to do with my potassium level or my creatinine level or something like that. And so the nurse comes back in my room with another nurse. The other nurse was there to hold down my ankles because I was very strong as a child, and I could wiggle my way out, like literally wiggle my way out of like 10 people and holding me down. And so my mum is holding down the top half of me and my arms, and she's holding my arms down like this, like by my side, and she's like laying like across the top of me, if that makes sense. And the other nurse is holding down my ankles. And so the nurse swabs the area that she needs to put the needle into, and I wiggle my way out of my mum's hands, and I'm like doing this as well, like I'm screaming and I'm doing this, and I'm grabbed the needle, but I didn't realize that I grabbed the needle out of the lady's hand, and then I like stabbed her in the stomach, and then I injected a little bit of it into her. And when your body is doing perfectly fine, you're not supposed to mess around with it and give it medication, especially this one that I was getting, because it can make you feel sick. I can't remember what it was, but it was, I don't know, it was some injection. And so the nurse that I just stabbed, she looks down at the needle and she goes and she like starts to like, she went to go scream, but there was like babies on the ward, so she's like And she like starts crying and crying and crying, and then the other nurse was like, and my mum's like, and I'm like, did I just do that? What just happened? About 2 minutes later, those two nurses leave the room. The nurse that got stabbed, I'm pretty sure she like threw up or something. And then my mum just looks at me and she goes, could you not have just stayed still and gotten stabbed? It would have all been done and over with by now. And I'm like, she was gonna hurt me. And she goes, needles hurt. She wasn't gonna hurt you, the needle was gonna hurt you. And I'm like, ow. And she's like, why are you saying ow? You didn't even get stabbed. And I'm like, I stabbed the nurse. And then I just started crying and crying and crying and crying. And then about 6 nurses walk in my room, half an hour or 45 minutes later. And 2 of them are holding down my left leg, 2 of them are holding down my other leg, 2 of them on, you know, each arm. And then one of them's holding down my stomach area, so I didn't like move my stomach, so the nurse didn't actually like keep jabbing me like this. And so the nurse swabbed the area, stabbed me, and then she was done and she left. And then the other nurses are leaving, and my favorite nurse turns around and she looks at me dead in the eyes and she goes, now wasn't that much simpler when you didn't jiggle? See, look, all over and done now. And I'm like, it still hurt. And she goes, oh my god. And she left the room. My mum just looked at me and she goes, see, that could have been done. This whole situation could have been, you know, non-existent if you didn't stab the nurse the first time. And I was like, yeah, I guess. So that's the time I stabbed a nurse. I hope you laughed. I hope you enjoyed. Okay, say bye. Yeah, I can't even. Yeah, I did the whole video fine, and then I just said see you bugs, because you're a bug now. Alright, bye.